Here we go. So yeah, what I'm going to do basically, how the call is going to work. I'm going to share the simplest launch strategy for small businesses. So this is the strategy that we've done, obviously for Inc. Marketing, for our recent Inc. Emails launch, but also the strategy that we do with clients 9 times out of 10. So the way it's going to work, I'm basically going to talk you through the strategy as a whole and why it's effective at turning prospects into customers. Then we're going to look at how we ran the Inc. Emails launch and take a bit of a dive into there, a bit of a breakdown of kind of the assets that you need to do a launch, the assets we had in place, the email strategy behind it, and what that looks like, a bit of a behind the scenes, and just go through all of that stuff, and then some of the mistakes that I think we made with the launch and how we're going to address those next time, and then tie things off with a bit of a Q&A. So it's going to be focused on what we did and the strategy as a whole. So hopefully you'll be able to take some stuff away and just copy it basically directly into your business. If your business is different to ours, there may be some kind of tweaking that you need to do, but on the whole, I'm hoping it's going to work like that. And then we're going to do some Q&A at the end if there are any questions, just so that if there's something you're not sure about or whatever, you can ask the questions at the end. So if you've got any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat box, or I'm pretty sure we can allow people to unmute themselves at the end if you've got any questions you want to ask live on air. So the launch that we've just done, it makes up one part of a 3-part strategy, and this is the simplest strategy that for any small business. And the way, or the reason we tend to use this strategy and keep things so simple is because I know firsthand that when you're running a small business, you've got to wear lots of different hats, because you've got to be, especially in the early days, you're head of customer acquisition, you're also head of finance, head of operations, head of cleaning quite often. And a lot of the advice out there, especially in terms of marketing, tells us that we should be doing lots of different things. So we should have a Facebook page and be posting on there 6 times a day. We should also have an Instagram profile we're posting, TikTok now as well, Snapchat, and email marketing, and print marketing, and running webinars. There's a long list of things we're supposed to be doing, apparently, and it's just not practical as a small business owner. So this strategy is designed to be as simple as possible to deliver the best results. So part 1, and this comes before the launch, is to build an audience. Because if you're putting your stuff out into the world and you haven't got an audience, you haven't got anyone who's listening to that stuff, who's seeing your content or your messages, and it's falling on deaf ears, then it's not going to have any impact. So the first part of this is to build an audience. Now, there's a few different ways of doing that. It could be an audience on social media. It could be likes on your Facebook page, or followers on Instagram, or connections on LinkedIn. And it's probably sensible to build up a few different audiences. Where we typically focus our attention with this kind of stuff is an email list. The reason being, you own the data essentially. So people can unsubscribe, but once someone's opted in, you can move that data around. So if you're using one CRM or email marketing tool and you don't want to use that, you can move people across to another email marketing tool. In contrast to something like Facebook, where, especially with the Facebook page now, your reach is quite small, and typically you're going to have to spend money to get your message in front of people. And that's obviously happening across more and more platforms due to algorithms and stuff like that. But the reason we favor email as a place for building the audience is because you own the list. The second part is establishing a relationship with that list, because people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And the simplest thing we can do is to build a relationship with that audience that we've built by creating content, delivering value to them, so they start to know, like, and trust us. It's what we've been doing with my emails for the past 2.5 years, sending 3 emails a week, to establish that relationship, to deliver value to people in far greater quantity than I try and sell to people, so that there's that trust there. And as a result, when we come to doing launches and we make an offer to people, then they're far more likely to be responsive to us. Because if you've been getting emails from someone for 12 months or 6 months, and they've been giving you things that have been useful for your business, things you've been able to go away and implement, and then they've got an offer, they make an offer to you, you're more likely to take them up on it. A, because of reciprocity. I was struggling with that one. And B, because you feel like if they're giving you that stuff for free, the stuff that you're going to pay for is going to be fantastic. So that's the strategy in a nutshell. Now, the way in which you build the audience, establish a relationship, and make your offer is going to differ based on your industry. If you're in a cleaning business, you're not going to be sending them emails about marketing, but you just need to adapt it very slightly. On the whole, this works for 99% of businesses. So the next thing really is the 6 assets you need to run a launch like this of your own. And this is, again, kind of regardless of your niche, your industry, your company size. So thing number 1 you're going to need is a list of an audience. That could be an email list, as we touched on. That might be some likes on your Facebook page, connections on LinkedIn, followers on Twitter or Instagram, or whatever the platform is. But you need that audience in place for this launch strategy to work. You can always acquire that data if you need to, but you need that list in place before you start. Second thing you need in place is an offer. So I'm going to go a little bit more into the offer later on, but the offer we ran for Inc. emails ran for 2 weeks, and the offer was for people to book a call to discuss Inc. emails. There was a deadline by which they had to book the call. It was 3 p.m. on Friday gone, I think it was, or the Friday before. But there was a deadline in place that they had to take action by. So an offer and a deadline are the second and third asset. Asset number 4 is a sales letter, and it's a bit of a topic for debate really in terms of sales letters, as to whether you need a long form one like we used for the recent emails launch, or whether something shorter is right. And it does depend on your audience, but typically you're going to need a sales letter of sorts that is going to kind of run through the AIDA process of getting the prospect's attention, getting their interest, creating desire, and then making them take action. So taking them through those stages, from becoming interested to actually taking action and either becoming a lead or a customer. A sales letter is an effective way of doing that. Number 5 is a video. Video is getting more and more important. I much prefer to create written content as opposed to video content. But there's no denying that video is becoming increasingly important in your marketing. And even if you don't like being on camera, or you're not a fan of video yourself, there's no denying that there are a big chunk of people who would prefer to consume video content over written content. So to just not produce it because you don't like it that way is foolish, because there's certainly a large chunk of your audience who probably do like to consume video that way, prefer consume content that way. So we need a video is in addition to a sales letter. And the 6th asset is some emails, because we need a way of getting people from the list across to the page where our sales letter, our video, our deadline, and our offer are. So those are the 6 assets. And I would just want to talk you through the emails I wrote and sent throughout the campaign, and a little kind of create some awareness of why we sent them in that particular order, why we talked about the things we talked about. But the whole purpose of these emails is to get people from the audience, so being on my email list, through to the offer. So what you'll notice when we go through these emails is I didn't give away, there wasn't a full sales letter from the page. In the emails, there's little segments of it, little chunks, little teasers. And the whole objective with these emails is to take people from their inbox onto the page. There's obviously a few reasons we want to do that. A, because we want them to read the letter, but B, because it allows us to show them a video. You can't play video in your inbox. And also because it allows us to do some clever stuff with tracking, so video tracking, and Facebook retargeting, that kind of stuff. which I will come on to some more detail about shortly. So with the launch we've just done for Ink Emails, you've probably seen the page and seen what it looked like. The strategy we had there was it created a free training, so a 15-minute video talking about weekly emails, how to make them work for your business. Very much value led. I mentioned what the offer was at the end of the video in the last kind of 30 seconds, but pretty much the entire video was about value. So it was a legitimate training. It wasn't just a sales pitch. So when it came to sending the emails, I sent them over a 2-week period of the launch and had it kind of broken down into 2 phases. So the first phase and the first week essentially was talking about the training specifically. So I didn't really touch on the offer very much. The offer was obviously detailed on the page, but in terms of getting people from emails across to the page, I was talking about the training, breaking down some of the stuff that it covered, doing some objection handling, and focusing purely on the training. The second phase, so the second week of the launch, that focus shifted then onto the offer. And the reason we do it like that is because we essentially want to lead people through. And it's the same with any kind of email series, that email 1 doesn't necessarily give everything away, because if you do that, then people, if I explain the offer in email 1, people are going to see that and think, do I want that offer or not? What we want to do with a kind of persuasive copy is give them a little bit, get them to the training, not hide the offer, but not talk about the offer at first, and help them understand first why this is a good thing before making the offer clear. So that's the kind of thought process. I'm going to run you through the emails. I'm not going to read them all out loud because that would be like being back at school. But I will give you a quick breakdown of all the emails we sent and kind of a running commentary on why we sent them in this order. So this is email 1. I've put some numbers in the corner just to make it easier for myself. Email 1 is typically a shorter email. We're just teasing what's on the page. I'd been talking about the training for a couple of weeks in the run up to it to kind of create some curiosity, create some desire. Email is typically a shorter thing. So what you'll notice is it talks about the outcome of watching the video, but apart from that, it doesn't share very much. It's just a clickable link to get through to the page. So that was sent on the Friday. This was email number 2. And this is kind of tied into what I talk about with marketing and my approach to it, and our kind of approach as a company, which is about authenticity, about being open and honest, because people are becoming more aware of marketing strategies. We've probably all had emails from gurus who've got us on a 60-minute webinar. It turns out to just be an elongated sales pitch, and they've got photos with famous people, and it's just not very nice. It's just slimy. So the reason I sent this email at the start, I basically said, look, I'm going to be making an offer for the next couple of weeks. So I didn't necessarily talk about what the offer was, but explain that that's what I was going to be doing. And the reason I did this was to kind of help people understand. I didn't want it to feel like a bait and switch. I wanted people to understand that's what we're doing. And the second reason really was because I know that Ink Emails isn't going to be right for everyone, and it's not going to appeal to everyone. And I knew that I was going to be talking about it quite heavily over a 2-week period. And what I didn't want to do is harm the relationship I'd kind of invested in building with a lot of my email subscribers. So I explained why it'd be sensible for them to stay on the list, to consume the emails, even just from a perspective of understanding them a bit more. So that's the reason we sent this email at the start, so that we didn't get unsubscribes throughout the sales campaign. It's also a bit of objection handling as well, really, because helping people understand that I'm not one of these people that's just going to try and trick them and sell to them the whole time. So this was email 2. It's quite a long email, but I just want to convey that message. And again, link to the training at the bottom. The other kind of thing is objection this handled really was explaining that the pitch is right in the 30 seconds, so that it's not just a long sales pitch. That was the kind of objection handling in that email. Email number 3. See if I can move this thing at the top so I can see the email better. There we go. That's the email number 2, I think. Oh, there we go. ABC relationship marketing. So the rest of these emails in the kind of phase one, we're just taking snippets out of the sales letter. So it's taking the training out. So what we did with the letter really was transcribe the video into text, and they gave it a bit of an edit so that it's essentially a written version of the video, because we know some people like to consume video, some people prefer to consume the written word. So that's why we split it out like this. What that enabled us to do is then pull chunks of that across into the emails and use it as a way of getting people to read the full letter. So this one here, talking about something a little bit relatable, talking about salespeople. And talking about how some salespeople will just go after everything. They're hungry, they're on the phone. If someone hangs up on them, they're on the phone 30 seconds later. And talk about how I'm not like that. And talk about how the alternative way is just to build a relationship with people, have a bit of patience, invest in creating value and delivering value. And the reason I've done that is because I know that the sort of people who are often going to be signing up to Wink emails are interested in that kind of approach. They're not the sort of person that's going to be hitting the phone every 30 seconds. So that was kind of the premise of email 3. Email 4, this was a social proof email. So one of our clients, a guy called Jamie Alderton, he's got quite a large social media following. He's got about 500,000 followers on social media. And this was, again, a bit of objection handling, because what I wanted to convey was, even though this guy's a bit of a big deal, and he's just disturbingly muscular as well, I hope he won't mind me saying, even though he's got this big social media audience, he still pays us to write his emails, because he knows that it's an effective way of converting people into paying customers. So the reason we use this email was for the social proof aspect. We talked about the training again here, and what the kind of details of that is. We've got a testimonial in here as well, but it's helping people to understand that email isn't a dead media, and that's still something that's effective, still something that people who are reliant on social media are using. And as well, it's a true little story there about how I was bricking myself a little bit before this meeting, because he was a bit of an Insta celebrity who'd agreed to meet up to talk through the email. So there's a bit of honesty there as well, which is never a bad thing. So that was email 4. Email 5, short one. And I'd like to mix up the length of the emails, really, because some people will read email from top to bottom, some people won't. So if we can mix of short and long emails. And this is because I know we've got a few PTs on the email list as well. Again, drawing a message from the longer letter that people, if getting in shape was easy, people would just do it by themselves. We know how to do it. And again, that's kind of related to the email service. And then Friday's email, again, a bit of an honest one, really. And because what I didn't want to do, especially because we've got the 30-day money back guarantee, I didn't want to tell anyone that this is going to be a magic bullet, and if they start sending some emails, they can retire next week and buy a yacht, because that's obviously not how it works. And we want customers who are going to stick around in the long term, or clients who are going to be with us for a long time. So it's important to me that we communicate this isn't an instant fix. It's not going to change your life overnight, but did talk about the positives of email marketing. So I'll kind of talk through the effect that COVID had on our business. Broke that down a little bit, explained that we had, we're kind of quite fortunate in some respects, because we haven't got huge overheads. We're kind of used to working remotely, all that kind of stuff. Haven't got physical retail premises, but essentially talked about how one of the reasons we're able to kind of start doing well off the back of it was because we've invested that time already in sending emails, in building that relationship. And that although it's not going to pay you back today, when you're 6 months down the line or 12 months down the line, you've been sending emails to someone every single week. If something happens and shit hits the fan, then you're going to be thankful and grateful that you decided to make that decision here and now. But again, talking mostly about the training here as opposed to the offer itself. So that was week 1 essentially. And then week 2, we kind of transition into talking about the offer. So this one was talking about the guarantee. So one of the things we did with this, which is the first time we've done this actually, is to introduce a 30-day money-back guarantee for people who signed up, so that if they came did the call before the booked the call before the deadline and came on board as a client, then if they didn't like after 30 days or within 30 days, they could just have all the money back. It's a bit of a risk reversal. It doesn't typically mean we'll get more sign-ups, but you have to, obviously, on the flip side, you know that you're probably going to get a refund or two, even if you do a fantastic job. It's just the manner of the beast. But this is more where we shifted onto the offer now. So this is one of the bonuses of the offer. Email 8, again, this is focused on the offer, telling people to book a call. And this is kind of where this is a sensible email for anyone to use, really, where you kind of paint a picture of what things could be like. And that's the question of what things would be like if they became a customer. So here we talked about what's it going to look like if you sent 52 emails a year from now, and get people can't help but answer the question like that if you ask it of them. But here we're talking about some of the bonuses of the offer here that people are going to get their hands on by booking a slot. But this is, you can see how the shift is much more on the offer on the deadline in these second lot of emails. This one, and this is this was a bit of a mistake really, because I didn't address these FAQs on the page, because we have had these questions before. But this was just to kind of cover off the FAQs that people have been asking either before or after booking a call about the service, and kind of explaining those, going through those in the email, saving those because some people just won't have gone through to the page because they weren't sure. So getting those in the email so that they're answered. Again, the call to action there at the end being to book the call. And then this one was social proof. So this was sent on the final day. We sent this in the morning. And this was just snippets of the testimonials from the page. This is always a smart thing to do. Any social proof you can include in your emails, in your launch, and in other, if you're doing ads as well, it's any social proof you can do. The whole purpose of what we're doing with the emails and the sales letter and the video is about objection handling, and it's about understanding what the objections people are likely to have before becoming a customer, and just handling those or addressing those with each one. So by using some social proofs and testimonials, got some cool people here. So Marcus was one of the partners at Digital Marketing until recently, quite a big US company. Jamie's obviously got quite a big audience. Russ is on the call, actually. Russ, you featured in the email there. Russ is a magician who taught me a magic trick, which I would show you if I had the cards with me that he gave me. And we've got Will Poston there as well, who runs a decent sized company. So the reason we've used these people is because there's some credibility. People may recognize those names, those faces. And also there's a bit of a mix there because we're working with different clients and different industries. So if you're approaching that from your perspective and the social proof of the testimonials, you want to kind of understand who your ideal customer is, because you want to get testimonials from more people like them. But also you want to understand what the key messages you want them to get across are, because then you can kind of help guide them a little bit with what you'd like them to talk about in the testimonial. It's always a sensible thing to do. And then the final email, so we sent this 60 minutes before the deadline, was just a bit of a shorter email really, explaining there's 60 minutes left. And what will typically happen with any offer and you run like this during a launch is you're probably going to get an influx at the start and then an influx at the end right before the deadline, because people always leave it to the last minute. We all do it, and that's why deadlines are so effective. So this was just a recap of what you're going to miss if you don't take action before the 3 p.m. deadline. So those are the 11 emails. So if we kind of look back at those, we touched on these already, but the most important things for writing any emails to a company, a launch like this, creating some curiosity and desire about what the page is about, because the whole goal is to get people from where they are onto the page. Using social proof in the emails as well is always a sensible thing to do. So you'll notice with the earlier email about Jamie, we had that in the footer, a little testimonial. But then obviously one of the latter emails, we just dropped the testimonials straight in there. And the last one is objection handling. So this applies to the sales letter and the email copy. But making a list of the possible objections someone could have before becoming a customer. And then making sure as you go through the emails and the letter that you're ticking those off. So for instance, if you're a plumber, the objections might be people are wary of tradesmen. They're worried that you're going to have dirty shoes and you're going to leave a mess behind. Worried about you turning up on time, or worried about being without a toilet or whatever it is for a week. So if you can understand those and you can address those, then it's going to help put people's minds at rest and help them become customers. So I want to drill down now a little bit on the offer and how to kind of structure that. So the key thing really is that with any launch like this is you need an offer and you need a deadline. So the deadline is straightforward. That's a date by which people need to take action, whether that is booking a call like we did with this, or whether that's actually paying for something, becoming a customer. You need to set a deadline, and then you need some bonuses. So the deadline here I'm talking about in these bullet points is a date. So ours was 3 p.m. Friday the 28th or something like that. It was the end, last Friday of the month. But what also works really well is a first X. So we did an offer for the first 5 people to book a call, whereby they got some more of my time. But by introducing that first X, because what I touched on, obviously people tend to buy at the start and at the end. Whereas if we can introduce either another deadline for fast movers, or the first 10 people to take me up on this offer are going to get X, Y, Z, then it's going to help create another spike in sales. It's going to even things out a little bit. And it also prevents you getting to the end of an offer and panicking because no one's bought yet, even though they're all going to buy at the last minute. So having a first 5 or a first 10 offer in place is sensible. Just pick a number that feels either you can deliver if it's going to take your time, or based on how many people are likely to buy. Because if 1,000 people are going to buy, you might do a first 100. If you only expect 40 people to buy, doing your first 50 is probably not very sensible. And the bonuses we used for, take it across to the page. So the bonuses we used on here. So we did the first 5, would get some of my time, but the bonuses that ran throughout the entirety of the offer were to get 5 emails free. So once you've paid for 5 emails, we would pay for your second 5. And I'll come on to why I did that in a second. Oh, I did leave the first 5 on here. Okay. A 24-month price freeze. So just to let people know that we wouldn't be putting the prices up for 24 months. And well, I don't know how strong that was in truth as an offer. No, I don't think that was really what pushed people over the line. I don't think we'll use that again next time. And we also had the guarantee as well. So that was the other bonus, which is if they came on board for the deadline, introducing that guarantee, just to make it a complete risk reversal. Now, the reason we've done the second emails for free is really to get a bit of commitment out of people. Because what happens with this kind of service, with both our Ink emails and Ink newsletters service, is because it's about building relationships rather than direct sales approach. You typically won't see results straight away, and I can have a conversation with someone, I can explain that to them, and they can say that they understand it. It all seems good, but then quite often people can get cold feet if it's not delivering a return straight away. So we've got the guarantee in place, but the reason we put this here is to get people, because by 10 emails, people are normally starting to see some tangible return from this kind of stuff, not necessarily after 5. So by getting to them, putting that in place, as long as we can get into 5 emails, we've got another 5 weeks then to send some really good emails to their audience, deliver a result for them to understand, yeah, this is actually a fantastic thing that I'm glad I invested in. And also because it goes past the 30-day money back guarantee. The idea being, if after a month you've got the choice, then you can either have your money back and we'll refund them straight away, or they can decide to give it a bit longer, give it another 5 weeks at no cost. So that's the reason we built the offer in that way, or built the bonuses in that way. But in terms of bonuses, I'm a big fan of using bonuses as opposed to discounts. Sometimes it makes sense to do early bird pricing with things like events, but generally, if we can create some either money can't buy or high value bonuses for people who take action before a certain date, allows us to keep our margins pretty high, and it's a reason for people to take action. Because if we don't have bonuses in place and a deadline in place, someone can buy at any time, there's no incentive for them to buy. But what we're doing with these launches really, and what you want to do with yours, is give people a reason to buy. So these might be people who've been getting emails from you for a while, receiving your content, consuming your content for a while. The whole purpose of this is to give them a reason and an incentive to take action now, rather than put it off until next week or next month, as many people will do. So those are the bonuses. I want to take you through the mistakes I feel we made, or I made in truth. So the first was we didn't explain the service in that much detail. We didn't kind of explain the mechanics of it, and how we deliver that service, how we talk about how simple it is and talk about our experience doing it, but there was no kind of step-by-step of, we'll get you set up on WhatsApp with the team, or just send a voice note or a text or a video back and forth, and we'll do everything else. We'll write the email, you okay, and then we send it out. Didn't really talk through any of that, and I think that was a mistake, because whenever I got on the phone to someone, that was one of the questions they had. So it tells me we should have, or I should have communicated that a little bit better. The second is not having a video version of the pitch, so the offer, the bonuses. So the video cut off at the end of the training basically said, last 30 seconds, if you want some help with this, read down below, book a call. But what that means is that if people aren't readers and they didn't have the desire to go through the whole letter, if they've just watched the video, then they wouldn't have known about the bonuses and the offer we had in place. So we overcame that somewhat by talking about it in the emails and stuff. But next time, we're going to detail what the offer is in the video. It's going to make it a bit longer, but so be it. And the third mistake I made really was when we launched it, I didn't have a call, and the call to action was just to buy. And we didn't have the guarantee in there either. And so we didn't get any sales in the first couple of days with that offer. And looking back, it's pretty obvious, because people wanted to ask some more questions, to get some more details before just signing up. So we're only asking for £100 up front, but also because it's important that we get the right kind of client. We've turned more people away from ink emails this launch. We've actually signed up because it's not the right fit for them, because their list isn't big enough, or it's probably not right for them right now. So having that call in place for us is important. So that was a mistake we made by not having that at the start, and then subsequently not having the guarantee in place at the start, because as soon as we introduced the call to action, booking a call, and put the money back guarantee in place, we start getting the leads coming through. And then the final thing I want to run through, really, how are we doing for time? 40 minutes, cool. The final thing I want to run through is the tech stack, as the kids are calling it now, because it's one of the things that I often get asked is, how do you get this kind of stuff in place? And again, this is trying to make this as simple as possible, as always. This is the stack that we use, the different softwares and stuff we had in place. I've always got an eye on the costs, especially with like subscriptions and software, that some things you add up so quickly. I've always got quite a keen eye on those. So this is essentially a low cost but effective list of tools that you can use to get the most from your launch. So the first thing you need is something to build your, let's put this back in presentation mode. It's something to build your pages in. So if you're going to have a sales letter and a video hosted on a page, you're going to need some landing page software. ClickFunnels is obviously a well-known one. there's a lot of different ones out there. I'm not going to bother listing them, but like ClickFunnels as an example is £100 a month or $100 a month. The one I've been using that I've switched over to recently, and I've used all of them really at some point, but the one I've moved to recently is called Fast Pages. Not an affiliate of any of these. That is, it's $200, but it's lifetime, and you can connect like 20 domains and build 100 pages or something like that. You can have quite a lot of stuff, but you can pay it once and then you're set for life. It's very, very simple in comparison to things like ClickFunnels, but it allows you to build a page, drag and drop, put your video on there, capture leads in there. It can also connect to Stripe if you want to take payments directly through the page. So landing page builder, Fast Pages if you haven't got a web developer or anything like that in your team. You're going to need a way of sending the emails, and truth be told, all of the email marketing tools are pretty similar. Again, I've used most of them at some point. Until recently used MailChimp, then MailerLite, recently moved over to something called Email Octopus, because deliverability is good and it's cheap as well. We're paying less now with a bigger list than we used to pay before with a much smaller list. So we've got quite a big list, about 40,000. We're still only paying $100 a month, I think. So having an email tool in place is important. Email Octopus is a good one, but in truth, as long as you've got some way of sending emails out, you're going to be good to go. Video hosting, so somewhere to have a video or videos if you've got the testimonials as well. We use Wistia for that, and the reason being, Wistia allows you to do some really, really smart stuff. So like most tools, Vimeo being the same, I think YouTube does this as well. It's going to give you like an overview of the statistics. It's going to tell you, I don't know what average engagement means, but it's going to show you a line of where people are dropping off. It's always useful because if you see a sudden, it's obviously quite a steady decline. You're always going to see that. If you see a sudden drop off, as we sometimes see, I've seen it with clients before where they've been start tracking the numbers and at 5 minutes they're losing 90% of the audience, then you know there's something wrong with the video. So it's useful to be able to see when people are leaving, how long people are staying on. But more than that, something that Wistia allows you to do is to track who's watched how much of the video. So I've blanked out the email address because I don't want to get tracked down by the ICO or anything like that. But it gives you statistics like these. So it will give you the email address of the person who clicked through and watched the video, and it's going to show you how much of the video they watched. So here we can see this person watched 100%, and these orangey bits mean they went back and re-watched part of the video. It also tells us when they watched it. Now, the reason this is so effective for launches is because it allows you to do some more targeted follow-up. The way I use this is once we've run the launch, once we've got a list of people who I think we had 300 and something people watch the video, is we can pick up a list of the people who've watched 80 or 90% more of the video and invest some more time and energy into following up with them. So that might be a call if we've got their phone number, or it might be just a little personal email. If we've got their email, or we've got their email address, but a little personal email to them just saying, hey, notice you watched the whole video, but you didn't book a call. What happened? Why was that? The benefit of that being that you're going to get some people reply and say, yeah, do you know what, she's so busy, can we have a chat about this? Which happened with this one. And the other thing that happened is we had some people come back and give some genuine feedback. So I don't think it's for me right now. I don't think this is going to work for my industry. Someone told me I was a terrible presenter, but getting that feedback is an important thing as well. Have a bit of squash, please. Get a little drink of it. Cool. So that's Wistia. So Wistia.com. It's a little bit more expensive than Vimeo, but it's an effective one. The next one we use is something called Rev. So Rev.com. And that allows you to add captions to your video. So super, super cheap. You upload the video to the platform. It creates captions, so subtitles for the video, essentially. I think it's $1.20 per minute of video. So cheap as chips, and it gives them to you in a file that you can upload to Wistia or to Facebook, wherever you host your video, YouTube even. And that's just good for people who are playing it with the sound of, maybe they're sat on the train or something like that, or sat somewhere public and they don't want people to they want to have the sound on, they can just watch the caption. So rev.com is one we use for our video captions. And the last one really I've included as a bit of a bonus. It's the first time we've used it. I don't think we used it as well as we could have, but it's called Provely. So if you went through to the page, you probably saw this little pop-up in the corner. So many people were viewing the offer. Now, it's a social proof plugin, essentially. Again, we paid for a lifetime deal on that, which may still be active, which was $100. And it's a little pop-up that sits in the corner of the page and shows either how many people are viewing the offer, or if you set it up correctly, which I didn't, it will show you that people are opting in or people are buying. You've probably seen this on some e-commerce websites before. If you can get it to work, then it's a clever thing to do if you're getting leads and sales generated. It just helps with the social proof aspect. If someone's a little bit unsure, but they can see in the corner that other people are signing up, booking a call, making a purchase, it means they're much, much more likely to buy themselves. So that is the end of the slides. 45 minutes, we're doing pretty well for time. Good news is, got a little bit of time for Q&A. So let me put up the chat box. Have we any questions come through, Beck?
We've got one from Phil. He says, I've got a pile of 2,000 business cards and listed these. Can I use these as my audience, or is that spam under GDPR?
So it depends on the fact that you say business cards suggests it's probably B2B. So how you're covered under GDPR is, as long as there's legitimate interest and you can demonstrate that there's legitimate interest, that if you're trying to sell something that this person could never possibly need, it's going to be spam. But if there's legitimate interest, so they've given you their business card and expressed an interest in what you do, as long as it's a business email address, so it's, for instance, at inkmarketing.com rather than at Gmail, at Yahoo, whatever. So as long as it's a business email address, you can send them an email to talk to them through it. If it's personal data, so it's personal email address, or it's B2C, it's trickier. I wouldn't recommend doing it. But yeah, as long as they're business emails, are giving you their details, there's a legitimate interest there that you can kind of prove, you can still send them an email just to see if they're interested. Cool. I can't unmute anyone now because Becky's got the power, but are there any more questions?
Do you want me to unmute you?
If they've got a question, let's look through the videos. Cool. If you've got any, if you want to ask a question, stick in the chat box. We'll give it 30 seconds or so to ask away if you have got any questions. But otherwise, as I promised, that's it. There's no sales pitch on the end. Hopefully that's been useful to you to kind of understand how we did it. In terms of results, which we didn't talk about, we had 19 leads come through in the end. We had a target of getting 10 new clients on board with Ink emails. We've signed a few up already, so 10's looking likely. So kind of happy with how that performed. But it's always a bit of not a guessing game, because you can kind of go on the knowledge you've got. But it's a case of kind of thin bit of testing, bit of measuring. You're always going to make some mistakes and get things wrong. But as long as you focus on the basics of understanding you've got those 6 assets in place, getting a decent sales page together, probably some video, building an email list, sending those emails, and do it with some thought in mind as to social proof, objection handling, that kind of stuff, and having a deadline in place. It's the simplest way to kind of launch any product or service. If you've got any questions, I mean, we help businesses out with this kind of service day in, day out through Ink Marketing. So if you want to talk about that, or if you've got any questions you don't want to share on the air, drop me an email in the normal place, nick@inkmarketing.com.
Phil Donovan asked.
I've got it. That's okay.
Oh.
Thank you. What the platform should we investigate, like LinkedIn? So the key really is you've probably heard this before. The 3 M's that come from American marketer called Dan Kennedy. I think he was the first to talk about it. Market, message, media. So the 3 M's in that order. So first you need to understand who your market are, so your target audience. Then look at what medium they're likely to be hanging out on. If you're selling to 90-year-olds, Facebook's not going to be the right place for them, even if someone tells you Facebook's great. So first understand who it is you're selling to, and then consider what platforms and what mediums you're likely to be able to get your message through to them on. LinkedIn's good for B2B. It's still in a phase really where the organic reach is good, where you can post stuff and a lot of your connections will see it. Especially good for video on there. People are getting a lot of views, and you can also just connect with people on LinkedIn for free. So you can do a search by whatever you want, really, job title, industry, seniority. I think you can search by whether they're connected to you as a second connection or a third connection. So if you're going to do LinkedIn, the way to do it is to do a search and then connect with people who fit that criteria, and then be posting content on there. I wouldn't worry too much about a page on LinkedIn. It's very much personal profiles are the way forward with LinkedIn. Cool. Well, if there's no more questions, we'll call it a day there. Thank you very, very much for joining me. If you have got any more questions, nick@inkmarketing.com. But hope you all have, no worries, hope you all have a lovely day.